Welcome back to the Marching to Madness College Basketball Podcast, where I have Coach Chris Jans of the Mississippi State Bulldogs. A good friend of mine, Coach Jans, comes over from New Mexico State, where he was 122 and 32. In 5 years, he won 4 regular season WAC championships as well as 3 WAC tournaments. Coach, welcome back.
Hi, Ken. Great to be back. Good to see you. I really enjoyed talking to you prior to being on air. Not that I don't enjoy this part, but that part was probably going to end up being my favorite part of the conversation.
Sure, that's good. That's good. I mean, we're all always a little laid back and comfortable when we can do that. And it really helps. It really helps the conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, as you come into Mississippi State, what were some of the important parts of the game that you found that you wanted to build on, or important parts of the game where you wanted to add to build on?
Yeah, I mean, you've heard it from a lot of coaches. When you get a new job like this, there's so much to do, and you got to prioritize what's important to you as the head coach. And for me, it was the obvious, the people that were going to be in the room with me when we walked out of the tunnels. And so we focused on the current players that we inherited. That was the first, order of business, is to get a feel for the ones that were interested in staying. And if the ones that weren't, help them, make sure they were good academically and did all the paperwork they needed to get in the portal. And the ones that were iffy, try to build sprint relationships with them and, sell our vision of what we thought this program should look like and how we were going to do business and the expectations that we had. And at the same time, you're recruiting new players, to the program. But, that biggest piece is, who's staying, because that determines so much in terms of what you need to fill in the gaps. And then your staff, I've been an assistant more than I've been a head coach, and I realize how important they are and how much they impact, winning or losing for that matter. So I've taken a great pride in my career thus far in hiring people that I feel like are better than me. And I try to hire people that are smarter than me. And as you well know, that's not that hard to do. So there's a big candidate of people out there. And I've been fortunate to be working, that I've worked with people in the past, and the staff I have now is tremendous. So really focused on that. And then certainly, just getting a feel for the new place, the buying and selling and the moving. Fortunately, I've got an unbelievable wife, and she handles most of that, and takes some things off my plate, which allows me to do my job. But there's just a lot going on. You got to get to know, the surroundings, get to know the donors, get to know the people on campus, the community. Certainly, everybody goes out in the summer and meets a bunch of folks, and has the caravan, if you will, to try to get the new face in front of all the fans across the state. And we did all that. And that was one of the highlights, doing that with Coach Leach, the football coach. And,
sure. Yeah.
He's got quite the following, and he's fun to be around, fun to talk to. It's no fun to follow him up on interviews because, he's just entertaining as all get out. But when I did get the job, that's one of the things I look forward to, is being around someone like that, because people are so intrigued by him. But a lot to do, still a lot to do, but that's kind of been what we've been focused on, at least when we first got the job.
I read his book, Swing Your Sword. It was really good. It's a really good writing, and he kind of lets you inside what he's thinking. That was good.
He's a bright human being with interest in a lot of different areas, and obviously he's a heck of a football coach at the same time.
Sure. You've got a nice big man there that I've enjoyed watching, 6'11", 245 pounds, Tolu Smith. And he's a solid leader. I was just curious if you would just talk about his efforts at keeping maybe some of the veterans around Starkville. I mean, as the transfer portal just rages on, it seems like every day.
Yeah, he was a priority for us. Didn't take me that long to figure that out. With the stats and the size and the stats here. And fortunately, he signed back with us fairly early once the change was made. And that was a big shot in the arm for us. And I think it helped with some other guys, some of the guys he played with that were here. But he's a heck of a player, heck of a young man. Shout out to his parents. They've done a tremendous job of raising Tolu up until this point. And he's a great kid, and in addition to being a heck of a player. And then Cameron Matthews and Shaquille Moore were guys that we obviously targeted because of their resume and what they've already done in college basketball. And we were happy that they came as well. And then DJ Jeffries, who actually put his name in the portal along with Shaquille Moore, they both did to kind of explore what was out there for him. And, we had I think our reaction to that was real good, because we just said, hey, we get it. No problem. We're going to continue to recruit you, get to know your family as you explore other options. And fortunately, knock on wood for us, they decided to come back. And so, and then in addition to that, we had a freshman that had actually redshirted last year, Keyshawn Murphy, that decided to come back as well. So when the dust settled, there was a core group of 5 guys, 4 of them that had played the previous year, and then Keyshawn, who had redshirted, that decided to come back. And, of all the guys that left, certainly there was one that, we wanted him to stay and try to get him to stay, but he chose to move on. And, if you had that kind of percentage in your first year to get, 5 of the 6 that you had a realistic chance of getting, I think most new coaches would tell you that's a pretty good batting average. So we felt really good about that.
Yeah. You mentioned DJ Jeffries and his return. Talk a little bit about how his experiences, now I know he was at Memphis, but how his experiences have helped shape him into a solid player.
Yeah, he obviously had high expectations since he was a junior, senior, 5-star, top 30. He's had, everybody knows him. Everybody in college basketball knows DJ Jeffries. I get asked about him on anybody on the road. I get asked about him by people that come to the gym. And DJ's aware of it. DJ's aware of it. And people talk about he's not lived up to his billing. Well, first of all, that's a whole nother conversation. I mean, these people that are ranking them, who are they to, put these stars on?
Exactly.
And, everyone develops at their own pace. But at the same time, I think DJ would be the first to admit that he had hoped for, a better start to his college career. But he stuck with us, and we developed a great relationship, and we're real high on him. He's a very versatile player. He can play multiple positions. He guards multiple players. He can do a little bit of everything on the basketball court. He's not a one-trick pony, so to speak. He's got a high skill level, and we just got to get him to have his motor revved all the time, to be an everyday guy, be in every, game, every minute, every play guy. And we're in the midst of doing that right now.
Yeah. And then you Shaquille Moore. He's a really solid part. I think more of him as a shooter.
Yeah, Shaquille, he's built like a point guard, but probably has more of a scoring mentality. He can play the point if needed, but he's better served off the ball, where he can, like you said, shoot the basketball. He's got a heck of a shot fake, and he's obviously got great athleticism, to couple all that with. So he's capable of going off, on some nights. And, we're trying to get him to use that athleticism and that stocky body that he possesses on the defensive end, and be someone that disrupts on the other end, and be a kind of a two-way player. And that's what we're working with him on right now.
You got Keyshawn Murphy, another big man, 6'10", but he's an inside-outside threat. Now, how will this fit your offense and your idea of, getting him the ball and how he'll score?
Yeah, Keyshawn's a very talented young person. He had some injuries that basically made him redshirt his freshman year. And he's unfortunately had some different injuries that have been more nagging injuries since we've arrived. So he's been the one that's probably missed the most practices, and that's slowed him down. But his talent is on display every time he's on the court, and he's definitely an inside-out guy. Got great length, can shoot the ball with range. He can pass it. He's got a feel for the game. But, like all new players, he's just learning, the speed of the game, the strength of the game, but he's got a chance to be a really good college player. And like those big guys you're talking about, they love when I walk in the door, because we still have a little bit of an old school inside out mentality. And have that as a part of, how we play. It's not just how we play, but we like to throw it inside and try to, get some fouls and get some inside out threes and play with the court inverted like that, even though that's not all we do. But the big guys like knowing that that's a part of the equation with us.
Yeah, and then I was going to ask you about Deshaun Davis. He's a transfer from Oregon State where he averaged 10.9 points, but also 5.5 assists, which was a high number. I think I read somewhere where he was the highest assist averager since maybe even Gary Payton there.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I just know that he led the Pac-12 in assists. I do know that. I don't know historically what it meant to their certain program, but we're familiar with Deshaun. He's a junior college player. When we were at New Mexico State, we recruited him. Fortunately, got him when he decided to leave Oregon State, and we're excited about him. Of all our new guys, he's one that has to be very impactful. He has the ability, he has the experience. He's a lead guard that's got good size, good motor. He can get in the paint, obviously, and make others better. He's already done that, but he can score it himself too. He averaged 11 points a game, and he can do it in a variety of ways. And we need him to have a really good year if we want to have the year that we're talking about trying to have.
Sure, and you got the Mississippi Gatorade Player of the Year in Kamani Hamilton. What aspects does Kamani have that you could make him a contributor right away?
Yeah, Kamani, like a lot, most of the true freshmen, it's a work in progress. There's just a lot going on. I mean, for most of them, it's like they're running through the woods because of the speed, the size, the pace of practice, all of those kind of things that are going on. But he walks in the door with great length and a high motor. His defense is ahead of his offense right now, which is okay by me because that's so important to us. And he's been a joy to coach, and he just oozes upside. And, it's all about when the game slows down for him and all the freshmen that we have that will really help them adjust and get comfortable.
Coach, I've studied your roster, and I think it's great the different areas that these kids come from. Of course, you've got people who stayed at Mississippi State, you got transfers, you got junior college players, and then high school seniors. Talk about the transfer portal in your opinion a little bit and how it makes you feel, to be able to make these changes recruiting wise and build your team.
Yeah, most of my stops have been rosters assembled like the one we have now, with backgrounds, different years of eligibility. It's not just the traditional 4 and 5 year high school guys. So I'm real comfortable in this space, and which would lend us to be comfortable in the portal space as well. Some coaches will have to make a pretty major adjustment to what they're used to, and it'll be par for the course for us because that's just kind of how we recruited previous to being here, and we're comfortable coaching kids for 1 or 2 years at a time. Not that we're not going to have guys that will be here for 4 or 5 years, and it's just each and every year, you're going to have to piecemeal together. And the days of watching kids grow and develop, each and every class in a 4 or 5 person class going all the way to the end, just isn't going to be the traditional way anymore. It'll be the exception rather than the rule. And again, with my junior college background and how we recruited at New Mexico State, I mean, that's a space that we're real comfortable in. And I don't know if it gives us much of an advantage other than, we'll be comfortable in where college basketball is right now.
When you bring kids together from that many different aspects, so to speak, and you put them all on the same page with you, as you're their head coach and your assistants and everything, how generally, I guess is what I want to say, how much time does that take to get them to know each other, know each other's games, and then, work with you guys to know you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a process, and I can't sit here and say it takes 30 days or 60 days or 2 months. I don't know. It's different every year. A lot of it has to depend on how many guys you have for June and July. You get those 8 weeks, and if you got all or the majority for the full 8 weeks, then that definitely makes it a little bit easier, but that's not always the case. With kids making decisions later and later, and with the portal, it might change now with the portal windows being more, on certain dates where it wasn't that way there last year. But it's all about when you can get everybody together and get them together for weeks at a time. But every year is different.
Coach, what you did at New Mexico State, if anybody studies college basketball, it was awesome. And it was done, quickly, and it was done fervently, and it was done with some really solid players. Talk a little bit about, like I said, your record was, I think, 122-32. Talk about building and how you create, I guess, the basement, so to speak, to build that type of program.
Our approach, Ken, was more, we're going to build a team each and every year. We never talked about 2, 3, 4, 5-year plan, and we're not here either. I just think our mentality is we're going to work our tail off to put the roster together for this upcoming season. And then once we start that season, then we're going to worry about next year as the season unfolds. And then obviously, super keen on it once the season ends, or at least down the stretch. And that's just how we do it. And that's how we did it there. And, the reason we had the success we had is, we had some unbelievable players. I mean, I can't name them all, but we had some headline guys that could really score the ball, and some older guys. We were always older, and that's something that I think in college basketball that's becoming more the norm of trying to stay old, just because you can't teach experience. And the more experienced teams you have, the more success you'll probably have, each and every year. So I don't think we'll change much going forward here at Mississippi State.
What are your thoughts on expanding the number of teams in the NCAA tournament? That's come up lately, and it feels like it's going to happen to some extent. And then, in your opinion, what would be a good way to do that?
Yeah, I don't tackle those issues because I got opinions and all that, but they're not going to listen to me. I'm not going to get a vote in it, and I'm not going to waste my time, trying to research it or give the reasons why or why not. I think it's one of those things that I think you can take one hat sit on this side of the fence and argue for it, and I think you can jump over on the other one and argue against it and make solid arguments for both. And so when you have that type of situation, that's called a problem. That's called an issue, and that's why it's always went back and forth over time. And I know I understand both sides of it, but whatever they decide, we'll deal with it and try to do the best we can.
Coach Chris Jans, ladies and gentlemen, in Starkville, Mississippi. Go State, go State. See, I even know cheers for everybody.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, I really appreciate your time, and I hope I get to see you guys play at some point this season live.
Ken, appreciate your time. Great catching up. Glad to hear you're doing well. Look forward to next time. Hit me up if I can help you. Hail State.